Here we go then. So part 5A has just been recorded, Vegas Desktop Video Editing, why bother at all? And then to finish this mini-series off, we're going to be looking at desktop video editing, why bother at all, the potential and the appreciation of beautiful work. Now there were two parts to it. In part A, we looked at the examples from Out of Sight and The Italian Job. In part 2, I'm going to challenge myself and hopefully challenge anybody who watches this to make some kind of work, shall we say, a visual essay documentary. And if you're going to add text, video, spoken word and audio here, then actually let's put it on present, it might make a little bit more sense. So when we get open and I get the pointer out, if you're going to make something, and this is why the band Echosmith have done a video, which is freely available of course, called Get Into My Car, and we're going to have a little look at it in a moment. And what I'm getting at is that if you're going to make a video, it's all about making a visual event on screen happen so the audience can understand what's going on, and more importantly keep watching and understand exactly what's going on. This is done all the time, but until you're actually aware to it and understand, then in this example, and I'm going to say that if you are going to make a 3-minute video yourself, there is a chance, looking on the right hand side, that I've introduced something called seconds per clip. So in other words, on the bottom, that as the timeline runs from left to right, then you're only seeing something on screen for a couple of seconds. This can vary widely, and that's why I put on the bottom. This is based on anything between something like a second and a half for something punch really quickly, which could be, say, this part of the video here, and then the longer scenes. In a typical movie, you may see something on screen for 12 or even 24 seconds, you know, like a panning shot, the sun is rising, it's introducing the whole thing. But as the action gets going, I thought it would be useful to get an idea of the challenge that it's all about. So just to run through this thing, we're talking about if you made something at 3 minutes, which is this center, which is why I put it in bold, because it could be a kind of an average. If your 3-minute piece of work could contain 3 minutes 180 seconds, about 60 different visual events. They may be slides, they may be video clips. If you think of two people are speaking in dialogue, say, then it's cut between them all the time. What you can appreciate why it's difficult to do is if you did something, say a 30-minute visual documentary or whatever, and I put this as 1800 seconds, then you may be talking about up to, say, I would say roughly about 600 based on the 3, but you can appreciate that you're probably not going to make something which is 30 minutes long and be cutting on screen visually every 1.5 seconds, because that would be extremely difficult to watch. But if you opened the camera and expected people just to watch almost like a live webcam or a vlog to yourself of 30 minutes long, then of course it's just going to be one visual event which is unfolding, maybe like one of those dash cams or a nature cam. But my point is, let's have a little look at it a little bit deeper in as an example. I've done a lot of work on this about the thing about how did we make that video, and then I'm going to compare it with a little Google Photos thing at the end. So in other words, with this video, and this is the entirety of the video, we've got, as I say, the band Echosmith. It's something I looked at. If you haven't seen this, I'll link it into the playlist, and that is Get Into My Car. And because of copyright, I'm not going to play any, but I'll give you an idea of how it works. So the first clip, shall we say, on screen, in actual fact, there's not much on screen there. There we go, look. So it starts off where she, Sydney, the lead singer, is in the video, starring in it, and she's making her breakfast by the look of it with eggs, orange juice before she gets into the car, and it goes like this, and there she is sitting. What I'm getting at is that the start of this, if I highlighted just one, drag, then that clip, bottom right down here, is 1.1 seconds. When there is a panning shot where she is sitting, I think singing as well probably in this, then the whole clip on screen as it zooms close into her is 3.4 seconds. you probably will not be aware of this until you really start looking at it. There you go, she's clearly singing, 4.3 seconds. As the thing goes on, you can see, let's zoom into this one here, that this particular one where she's in the red car in the street driving, it comes around the corner and there's somebody in labour in the back. I think she's an Uber driver, not obviously the lady, the lead singer, Sydney, and she's taken her to the hospital. That's only on screen for 0.79 because it actually is building up the tension, of course. And then there's a bit here which I've had to be quite complicated with. I think this is something where some people are doing some dialogue, or maybe they're building something else up. That's it. I don't want to go in too much to that, but what I do want to say is that I was out. Let's bring this back in again because I want to wrap this up as a teaching point and say that, look, if you want to produce, or I want to produce, a much bigger work, then I would know that even if I did something, a really decent 15-minute 900-second video piece of visual work, and bear in mind that's got to have probably some spoken word music, some video events on screen, whether they are still panned images or video clips with some text overlays describing, of course, education, teaching is my thing, and then we go in for 15 minutes long. So I find the table and I say, right, 15 minutes is 900 seconds, 900 seconds is here. I may be looking at between, say, 150 and 300 different clips on screen. That's the piece of the work. It's not easily done. You have to plan it and you have to be thorough with it. Which, of course, brings the final point in to say that if, as I did the other day, is I went out for a personal walk myself and with my mobile phone, this is Sunday morning, just a couple of days ago, and there's the silhouette of me walking along the pathway, then it cuts, and this is made up of my automatic video and slide images sent in the cloud to Google Photos. Then Google Photos, gifted me an awesome movie, and that was 30 seconds long, and at the very least, taking an average for an example, 30 seconds at 10 clips is about 3 seconds per clip, which of course is exactly concurrent to the 3 seconds per clip to what I was saying in the table, of which I wrote the table before the auto movie came along. But what I'm getting at is if I went out for, which I did, a 3 hour, I'm just going to mute this for a second. I'm going to mute the music because it's giving me auto music, and I'll play it. So in other words, with the video it's taken the machine learning a picture of the silhouette, a farmhouse and a grain storage area, barn, some carp feeding on the weeds, a lake, and then it's finished up with the lake again, where you can get the idea. And then right near the end I was accompanied along that track for about half a mile by a dog, which there is the dog there, and it finishes up with this lovely silhouette which machine learning gave me. Now you've got to, and the dog disappears. So what you've got to appreciate is that when it went to the Google Cloud and Google Photos gave me that 30-second movie, I did nothing for it. I didn't ask for it. I didn't even create it. It was just there. It was automatic. That completely is against the grain, shall we say, using that word again, of exactly making some kind of serious piece of post-edited work. Anyway, there is the challenge for myself to make something a lot longer. We can appreciate from this maybe the seconds per clip and the length of your work compared to how many seconds that is and how many visual events you may see on screen. And I think that's concluding this last piece of desktop video editing. So good luck. Please feedback to me if you need to. Ask a question. I'd love to hear from people.